Greetings. This installment of Ivy League admissions secrets um, focuses on an area I call relationship management. So I want to tell a story first, and then I'll go into process on how to manage this aspect of your admissions. So what happened is that this is probably about 10 or 15 years ago. I had a meeting with a Stanford professor, and I said to him, I asked him about admissions to the graduate program at Stanford. And he said, he explained to me that there were 1,000 people who applied and that we had 10 spots for admissions. So I then said to him, well, how did you decide on the person that you brought in? And he said, oh, that was really simple. I have a colleague at Harvard, and that colleague said that this person was really good. So I put my push ahead for that person and got them into the program. And so I looked at him and I was like, wow, that's amazing. So even though all of those other students were excellent and were applying and had worked that hard to be candidates, you actually selected primarily based on your Harvard colleague relationship. And he was like, yep, that's just how it works. So there are a lot of different textures and layers to the admissions process at the elite schools because of how many people are applying. And I decided to make this sort of a relationship, driven dialogue to sort of really drill down to the type of things that can really influence and impact your admissions. So another item that came up, which I thought was really strange, is I was talking with a friend of mine yesterday who went to Stanford and Yale, and she actually does admissions interviews for kids coming to Stanford or interested in applying to Stanford. And she even sort of added fuel to the fire of the discussion, because what we're dialoguing on is the number of people she's interviewed that she thought were excellent students. And these students even had research as part of their high school careers, and they didn't get in either. And I was fascinated because a not very well-known detail, for example, Stanford, Berkeley, Princeton, Harvard, Yale, the top 10 or 12 schools or so have a standing agreement between the schools where if you get into graduate school, and in this case it's the sociology department, at any of those schools, and for some reason you've decided the work being done at another of those schools is what you'd like to do for a semester, you can leave one of those schools, go to the graduate department of another of the schools in that group, and do a semester or a year or whatever you like, and then come back to where you had gotten in, and the work that you've done will be considered the same. So what this brings up is not only are we interested, we being elite schools, interested in students who've taken the time to put research into their academic careers over time, it also is very helpful to be associated with Nobel laureates or folks who are at the top end of research at the best universities. Because if you've done research, that's great. If it's at a tier of school that's not Stanford caliber, those folks can be a little snooty about whether they're going to count that research or not for you. So this begs the question then, if you're serious about your academics to the point where you're applying to schools at the caliber of a Stanford or a Harvard or a Yale, and you're not a legacy, how do you bolster your credibility if you're not an athlete or a noted, other type of performer? And my suggestion would be take some time to look through the departments within those schools and determine perhaps what you'd like to study. And then beyond that, um, take advantage of opportunities to, for example, many of the elite schools are now offering online courses. I would, without a doubt, take an online course, especially ones in which you're being graded by students at those schools. I think MIT is one of the leaders in this right now. But go ahead and start taking those courses and getting grades in them is one way to do it. And if you really like what you're actually studying, I would take the time to take a visit to that school and post maybe doing a class, try to find a way to meet grad students or even the professor that's affiliated with the classes that you're taking. Because if you take the time to drill down, take a class, and then go ahead and meet the professor and figure out if you can be a part of that person's research. If that person is of the opinion that you're the caliber of student that should be in one of the elite schools, both the fact that you've taken a class and done research with that person will be hugely influential on your possibility of admissions. So you've now found a way to start drilling into the relationship driven process for how you can get over the hump of being a candidate for these schools. So, as we've discussed before, things like whether or not your legacy can influence your admission, things like unique skills like a Tiger Woods or something like that can be a variable. Another variable can be research, but you want to try to identify research that's affiliated with the top end folks because they, through their relationships, can help solidify your credibility as being well regarded by people within the academy at a certain level. Um, Final note on this that I wanted to share and that I thought would be mind numbing before I understood the whole thing is again noting the difference between a research university and a teaching university. It might be in your best interest to consider teaching universities if you haven't been exposed to research universities, because both their educational process and what they value is somewhat different. And emphasizing research university focused agenda items would be hugely impactful in your potential admissions. Good luck. Please like and subscribe. Look forward to next week's installment, which I think you'll find very useful. Nick, do you want to say anything? Those computers do not work very well.